Namaste dear students, welcome to online classes, Bangalore University Digital Learning. Dear students, today in our session, I will be discussing about a sonnet by William Shakespeare, Sonnet 17. This is named after Who Will Believe. This is one of the very important sonnets and a powerful sonnets of William Shakespeare, where he is addressing this sonnet to a young man, a fair youth, who is supposed to be a close friend of William Shakespeare. My dear students, in this session, we will have a complete analysis and its significance, theme, and structure of a sonnet. To begin with, this sonnet, Who Will Believe My Verse, is written by William Shakespeare. The sonnet 17 is the last of the sonnets. Procreation sonnets. Look at that. Look at the term you have to observe carefully. The series of poems with which the cycle of sonnets begins. Now, the series of sonnets, I mean, right from the beginning of sonnet 1 to 16, obviously they are all addressed to a young man, a fair youth, and a close friend of William Shakespeare. He was urging his friend not to get married in all those 16 sonnets. And he wanted his fair youth's beauty should be alive till his end. Why that he was time and again forcing his friend that not to get married. That was the concept, that was the theme you could see till sonnet 16. And sonnet 17, today what we are discussing, this is a different kind of a sonnet where Shakespeare takes different turns in terms of fair youth's beauty. Here, William Shakespeare trying to persuade the addressee of the sonnets, that is, the fair youth. The addressee of the sonnet is very clear for us, the fair youth, to sire an heir. I mean, he should be the king forever. He should be remembered even after his death. So that this sonnet is addressed to fair youth, a young man, and a close friend of William Shakespeare, as I told you pretty clearly. We will have the analysis and close look up about the sonnet later. Now we will have a sonnet before you, dear friends. The sonnet reads like this: Who will believe my verse in time to come? If it were filled with your most high deserts, though yet heaven knows it is but as a tomb which hides your life and shows not half your parts. If I could write the beauty of your eyes and in fresh numbers number all your graces, the age to come would say, This poet lies. This poet simply lies. He is not true with his lines. Such heavenly touches never touched earthly faces. But the powerful line of a sonnet where you could see in sonnet 17, such heavenly touches never touched earthly faces. That means he has given that a powerful terminology like heavenly faces to his friend, a fair youth. So should my papers, yellowed with their age, be scorned like old men of less truth than tongue. and your true rights be termed a poet's rage and stretched meter of an antique song. But were some child of yours alive that time, you should live twice in it and in my rhyme. It's a beautiful sonnet. See, in this sonnet, Shakespeare clearly mentions about his friend. His friend's beauty should be lost forever. If he simply writes in his work, in his sonnets, he simply praises his beauty, that all will be there in the papers only. Nobody will believe. After somewhat years, somewhat days to come, see, the people won't believe that that kind of a fair youth was there. They will simply consider that this poet lies, is not true by his writing, by his verse, so that who will believe my verse in time to come? It is a number 17 sonnet out of 154 sonnets what Shakespeare had written. It is one of the 126 poems that are part of the Fair Youth sequence. This series is dedicated to a specific person. The first 126 sonnets addressed to a young man, a fair youth, dedicated to a particular person. That person is an unknown man who Shakespeare cares a lot. This sonnet is the last of 17 that focused on procreation. See, the kind of a procreation you could able to see inside this particular sonnet. There are some important things you have to notice. Very beautiful lines. The third line, you had mentioned the word, that is the tome. When the time to come, the people just they will see your tome. You are not supposed to be in the eyes of the people after somewhat days, somewhat years. Throughout the previous 16 sonnets, as I clearly mentioned, in the first 16 sonnets of William Shakespeare, the speaker, I mean the poet, chastises the fair youth for not getting married. See, look at that. He was chastises his friend not getting married and having children. He did not get married. He did not have children. So that kind of a youth, that kind of a beauty, that kind of a charm will be remained forever. That is what the poet thought till sonnet number 16. But when he talks about this particular sonnet, he believes this is the only true way for him to maintain his youth and beauty. If a person, I mean so-called his friend, a fair youth, did not marry, by that he will keep his youth as well as beauty alive till his last breath. But in this poem, the tone shifts. The speaker makes a plea, a pleading request before a fair youth to his friend, makes him realize that the speaker's writing can only go so far. How long the speaker's, I mean the poet's writing can go so far, so that he might do his best and capture the youth accurately, but no one in the future is going to believe him. He will capture all his youth. He will do his best in order to make his face alive, not to fade in the future also. But at last, at the end, who will believe? Look at the title of the sonnet. Who will believe my words? They will dismiss his words, they will dismiss the words of the poet as the ravings of a madman. Just he is a madman. He simply writes whatever he wishes to write. He praises the youth, whereas that youth nowhere exists. Now, in the first quatrain, see, look at that first line of a poem. Who will believe my words in time to come? The speaker begins by asking the fair youth what he is supposed to do about the crossroads they have found themselves at. Look at the terms the poet beautifully uses. The youth won't have children, and that leaves the speaker with only one choice. If the youth, so called the friend of William Shakespeare, does not get married, does not have children, and the speaker, ultimately the poet, does not have any choice but one, only one choice, that is to try to immortalize the young man in writing. Only he can immortalize his presence, his beauty, his ultimate characteristics about the physical qualities of a young man in his writing only. But the speaker knows that this is impossible. To immortalize a particular person only in his writing, that is not at all an easy task, an impossible thing. No one in the future, I mean in time to come, no one will believe his prize, his beautiful words about the fair youth. Nobody will believe. It will fall on deaf. The people will just listen, and they will turn out to be a deaf ears, unbelieving ears towards the praising of a poet about a fair youth. Even if the poet was able to write about the youth clearly and accurately, everyone in the future will think this poet lies. See, every person in this world, while reading this particular poem, they will come to the conclusion that, see, this person simply lies, the poet simply lies, so that there is no possible way they will think that this face or this person could have existed. They will have a question about your own existence, whether this fair youth have been existed in the past or not. They won't sure about their thinking. They were too divine to be real. In the last quatrain, look at the beautiful tagma and the beautiful sequence. You could see in the last quatrain of 17, the speaker acknowledges the truth of his own writing. See, beautiful lines. He acknowledges the truth of his own writing. It is all purposeless. If a poet so far praises, so far giving a wonderful and flowery vocabulary about his friend, fair youth, they will consider that, the readers will consider that, and the people will coming for the generation to come, they will consider that it is all purposeless. The poet, whatever he wrote in his sonnets, that is all purposeless. So that what he wishes, the fair youth, to get married and beget children. Why that you will live twice? Your beauty will live through your children. See, Shakespeare uses a simile in the 10th line to compare the aged papers. Look at the aged papers. His poetry will become an age-old one. To old men who always asks, they will always talk but never have anything true to say. Look at that. The paper. What if the paper will tell? The poetry will tell. The truth of the fair youth's beauty would be lost to the ages. What he wanted his friend should be his fair youth, his beauty, his physical characteristics should be lost to the ages to come. For that purpose, in the first 12 lines, that the fair youth needs to have children. That the fair youth needs to get married and beget children, by that he will live through his children, and the people will notice the beauty of a fair youth of his own children. If there was a child of yours alive, that instead of papers, instead of poetry, instead of sonnet, instead of writings, all aged papers, if you have child of yours alive, if you have your own child in the future, then things would be different. See, you need not to tell, you need not to convince you, the people need not to read any of my sonnets. They will think in a different manner that the fair youth would live again. He will take his rebirth through his children. He will live again. The fair youth would live again in the child and in the rhyme or poem. Look at that. In my poem, as well as in my rhyme, and through his children, he will live again. That is the ultimate purpose of a sonnet, where Shakespeare tells pretty clearly, if I just include all your beautiful aspects of your physical qualities, that and all should be there only in my writing, the people will forget. Who will believe my verse? That is what the title of the sonnets. Sonnet 17. So that he pleads, he requests, he made a beautiful, pleading before his friend to get married and beget children, by that in your child you live again. I hope you understood the poem Sonnet 17 by William Shakespeare, one of the beautiful sonnets. It is a procreation sonnet where Shakespeare used beautiful metaphors as well as similes in order to compare his friend from different aspects, from youth to old age. Thank you very much. Happy reading. Stay safe.